Yo, what's going on YouTube? This is my first video and everything, so I hope you like it. But this is a response video to Makeup Maverick, I believe it is. And I just want to say firsthand that I agree at some points and at some points I disagree. Now, one thing is true. There are a lot of men out there that are intimidated by women who have kids. And also there are men out there that feel like at this point in their lives they're just not ready to partake in that kind of responsibility. But also another thing that has to be realized here is that there are women out there who don't want to take care of their kids, and they just feel like, they'd rather be in the presence of a man and spend time with a man than to feed their own kids, to bathe them, even as something as everyday and rational as changing a diaper. They don't want to do those things. Now, me personally, I don't really think about that, because a lot of times I try to get to know the situation, and the way I do it is I pay attention to how a woman takes care of her kids. That's a big thing for me. And if she seems like a person that is willing to take care of her kids and she puts her kids first, me as a man, I respect that more than anything. And you get points with me if you take care of your kids like you're supposed to. Because like I said, there's a lot of women out here, they rather be in the presence of a man. And another thing that has to be considered here is that a lot of times, and especially with you, Makeup Maverick, you would definitely need to look more for something that would fit your situation. Like, for instance, if you have a child, you need to find a man who is more suited and is capable of partaking in that kind of responsibility, whether the father's there or not. And another thing is, you need to find a man who is not so much intimidated by that factor as well, because a lot of men are, and that's just being realistic. And also another thing that has to be realized here is that there's always going to be a double standard in anything in life, especially when it comes between men and women. And I know that's not fair, but that's just the way it is. There's always going to be any type of double standard out there. And another thing is that when a man has a child, it's not necessarily viewed as something bad. More likely a woman is more willing than a man to overlook that. There are women out there that will just say red flag, but women are more likely to overlook the fact that they have a child, and especially single fathers. They're willing to overlook that because they take care of their child and they're there for their child in most cases where most fathers aren't. So they're willing to overlook that, and they're willing to accept him more because he is there for that child. Now, with women per se, that is an automatic red flag when a man sees, a child, and especially a young girl. A lot of times you may be dealing with a female, and you may be in college or anything like that, from a man's standpoint, and you see a girl, she is about 20 years old and she already has a child, about 2 years old. Now, for us, that says red flag. And like I said, I know it's not fair, but that's just the way it is. I'm just speaking from a world that we live in. This is the world we live in, and that's unfortunately that's the way it is. And another thing that I must say is, I like to, I'm not a type of person. I'm not a biased person, so I like to speak from both perspectives. I like to go to both sides of the fence and, give my perspectives on that. But another thing I will also admit, Makeup Maverick, is that, and correct me if I'm wrong, you did state in your video that you don't need a man, and that's perfectly fine. And if you feel that you don't need a man, that's perfectly okay. But you also stated in your video that you were willing to grit and grind with a man as long as he provides that 100%, and as long as you provide that 100%. That's perfectly fine. But I must ask this, and I must get an understanding of this. Now, what was the percentage that he was providing? Because in any case, and you also did state you were married. Now, correct me, and as I stated, correct me if I'm wrong. But in any marriage, you're only going to get 80% of what you really want. 80%. No more, no less. And a lot of times, you're only going to get that because this man is going to provide that, and then there's always going to be something lacking. Nothing's perfect. So there's always going to be something that's going to be lacking. And as you've seen the Why Did I Get Married movie, then you understand this premise. Now, in any case, and that premise is very true, may I add, that premise is very much true. Now, you may be with someone, everything goes well, but he's only giving you 80%. And a lot of women out there, they do want something close to perfection, which is something that doesn't exist, but that is what they want. So they try their best to get that 100%, but he's only providing that 80%. So they become unhappy, and they see things from a certain light, and they don't like it, so they go out searching, and then they find someone with the other 20% of what they want. And then next thing you know, that 20% looks real good because that 20% is not what you're getting from the other person. So next thing you know, you leave that 80 for 20. But in the end, you realize you're still only getting 20% after the fact. So basically, my question is, what happened with the grit and grind in that? And another question that needs to be raised is this: when did the marriage take place? Did you marry him while he was in college and he was moving forward, or did you decide to marry him when he was not in college and he wasn't showing initiative to be employed or provide for his family? Now, that's where that comes into play, because it's a difference. If you married him when you saw that he wasn't taking the initiative, then that should have been at that point your opportunity to take the option to leave and partake in not being with that person. And also, when you were married, or also if you were married while this person was in college and then he just completely flopped after college, because I've been in a relationship like that myself, where a person was in college and they completely flopped after they were with me, but we weren't married, but they completely flopped because they were with me and they stopped going to school. In that case, then I can understand where you were coming from. But basically, that's where that is, and that would probably be something where it would be more of something where only you yourself would know the real situation. But like I stated before, there are situations out there where women don't choose this. Women don't choose to be single mothers, but they're out here every day and they do what they have to do. And there are single mothers out there that are doing it. I mean, they are educated. They're taking care of their business. They're going to work every day. They're paying for child care. They're paying their bills. They're paying rent. They're doing all these things to take care of a child. So, me personally, I don't feel that a single mother is something to be afraid of. I feel more likely it's something that needs to be cherished, because I grew up in a home of a single mother, and I can, because I'm not a woman, I can't really say that I relate, but I can understand what you're going through. Because I'm not a woman, I can't necessarily relate, and I probably won't have that type of struggle. But I feel like more single mothers now need to be cherished more than anything. But single mothers, you also have to realize that there's certain things that need to be done on your end too, to keep a long-in relationship. And please comment, rate, and let me know your thoughts. And keep it real with yourself and everyone else.